If you've ever felt pressure from somebody at work or anywhere else to do something, or you've ever really hated somebody out of nowhere, or you've met somebody who you felt madly in love and you felt, you complete me, you've got some shadow work to do. My background is as a mentalist. I've traveled the world as an entertainer, making it look like I can read minds on stage in front of thousands of people and audiences of all kinds. And it all works off uh, communication skills, showmanship, um, moxie, and applied psychology to make it all work. So I am fascinated by the way that the human mind works. And while I use that for entertainment purposes in the show, when I'm not on stage, I'm reading about anything and everything I can find about the human mind. And that has taken me to some very interesting places. Now, to talk about the foundations of shadow work and what it is, I want to take you back to about 1998, 1999, when I read a book called The Adjusted American. So, this is where I first heard about a lot of these ideas, and I haven't heard anybody talk about them in this way ever since. But it has helped me understand a lot of what I've seen in myself and other people in the decades since then. So I want to walk you through this, and by the end, you'll understand why even the falling in love and you complete me is actually wrecking your life. So let's dive in. It's important to know what in the world the shadow is, why it exists, and how it operates. So, story time. Imagine that you are a newborn infant and the universe is a crazy light show. Nothing makes sense. It's all just a hodgepodge of sensory input. It's lights and sensations and feelings and nothing makes sense because there's nothing to make sense with. And it's just this cosmic light show, right? Then as time goes on, you start to come online. You start to realize that my shoe comes off, but my foot stays with me. So I guess I'm me and the shoe is not me. So there's this first division line between you and the outside world. So you begin to become a person and a separate entity apart from the universe and the world that you can see and experience. Then you are a toddler and you are full of wants and you're just coming online able to communicate with words, and verbal dexterity is now a thing. And it's at this age where it really starts to set in because you're basically 50 pounds of want in a 25-pound bag. And a lot of those wants are highly antisocial. And say you've got brothers and sisters and you hit your brother because you know what, you just wanted to. And then your parents say, you know what, we don't hit each other here. And good people like you don't even think about wanting to hit their friends and their family and their brothers and their sisters. And you want to be a good person, don't you? So you've got these two competing wants. You want to be a good person, and you also want to hit your siblings. And they are very real and legitimate things that you want. And with the pressure and the outside influence of our parents and society and all of those things together, they help shape the direction of what you see yourself as being. And now we're talking about how you identify with those wants and desires, because your top desire is, well, I want to be a good person, therefore, I shouldn't want to hit my brothers and sisters. I shouldn't want to hit people. So I'm now a good person. I don't want to do this. But that want is still there. You just see yourself as a person who is good, and I see myself as the kind of person who doesn't hit people, nor do I even want to. And that's the trick. You start to disidentify with those parts that you don't want in you, and you now only identify with the positive parts that you think are positive or the parts that you get positive reinforcement for, and that becomes who I am. And now there's this whole part of yourself that exists that you refuse to acknowledge is there. And that's what we call the shadow. So all those hopes and dreams and negative desires are still there, but you refuse to integrate it into how you see yourself as a person. And this is reinforced at the family level, the social level, societal level. This is what an adjusted American does. This is how we operate. And that's kind of the weird part about this is that almost everybody you're going to meet, at least here in America, operates this way. What winds up happening is that those desires are there and you've learned to hate them in yourself. And that's why, if there's somebody in your life or the room or wherever you are who you think matches that part of yourself that you hate and refuse to identify with, you're going to project that hatred and self loathing outwards onto them as the target because they look like a person who would want to hit their sister, their brother, or whoever. And I hate that person. So the extent to which that you hate somebody without any good reason, you don't even know them, you just, I hate that guy. That is the part of yourself that you will not identify being projected out, and you're experiencing it from the outside. That's why it's so common that have you ever noticed that there might be a politician who is campaigning about how bad this certain lifestyle is, and this thing is horrible, and only degenerates and the worst of the worst kind of people would ever even think about doing this stuff. And then a couple years go by, and then they're caught in a scandal because they're doing exactly that. Now you know exactly why that happens. It's refusing to identify themselves as who they are, projecting it outwards, hating the people who look like the part of themselves that they don't like, and then going to war. But really, it's that they haven't accepted themselves as who they are. And that's the reintegration part of your identity. Now, the seeing it in other people and experiencing it from the outside explains feeling pressure from people or a situation, because anybody who is pressuring you is identifying some want or desire inside yourself that you won't accept. So you push it away, and now the degree to which you feel pressured to do something is some internal desire that you are feeling from an external source, when really it's internal. Somebody could try to pressure me to jump off a bridge or eat sardines or whatever the worst case scenario is. Somebody could want to pressure me to do it, and I don't want to do any of those things. 0%. I have no interest in it at all. At a legitimate fundamental level, there's no desire to do it. So they could try to be pressuring me, they could try to be influencing me, and I will be able to recognize that that's what they're doing, but I won't feel any of that, oh, I have to do this kind of a thing. And it doesn't have to be the desire to do that exact thing. There might be a secondary or even a third desire of people pleasing or wanting to go along to get along because I have to say yes to thing, otherwise people won't like me, or whatever that reason is. It's that reason that you're experiencing as pressure because it's a part of yourself that you haven't allowed yourself to identify or kind of reintegrate into how you see yourself as a person. Now, all of this has been kind of negatively skewed of bad things and, oh, I hate those people, and hatred and projecting out what you hate in yourself. This also applies to love. And this is one of the bigger things that has blown my mind again and again over the years, because most movies, books, um, any way that our society encodes morals and values tends to reinforce this one, which is the love of your life completes you. There are parts of me that I see in you, and I wish I were as amazing as you are, and I'm not whole without you in my life. And that is a very dangerous belief that enables you to stay in really bad situations and relationships, and also to put your own well being and self in the hands of somebody else's decisions. So it's still projection, but it's in a way that you identify as positive and wonderful. So, in a projection style infatuation, love, you complete me way, what's happening is there are elements of yourself that you don't feel align with your identity, but they might be positive things, or being overly affectionate or caring or empathetic, and well, that doesn't jive with how I was raised or how I need to operate right now. But this person is all those things I wish I could express, but I won't allow myself to. And therefore, I could experience that part of me by spending time with this person. So, being with this person is now a proxy event for being able to feel at home in my own self. And that's why you're now held hostage to the time that you spend with this other person. It's because of how that other person makes you feel about yourself, which is kind of a weird sort of self referential pleasure by proxy. So that's why you can fall in love with somebody who you see as embodying all those aspects and attributes that you won't identify with. And you can do that instantly because it doesn't really have anything to do with that person. They just have to look like the person in your head that you have of those parts of yourself that you wish you could express. And that's why the more time you spend with this person, you're seeing them as the real person they are, not the parts of them of yourself that you're falling in love with, that they're letting you experience, right? So now that you start to see them as a real person, you realize they're not the kind of person that I thought they were. I don't know what's wrong. I love you. I love you as a person. I'm just not in love with you anymore. And it's because as a blank screen, you can project all those positive qualities and experiences onto them. But as they become a real person, that screen fades and it becomes more and more difficult to project yourself onto them. And that's what that feeling is of, I don't know what it is. I don't love you anymore. And then somebody else comes along that's easy to project on, and now you're right back in the same cycle again. So that is kind of the fundamentals of how shadow work shows up in your life, and how it can feel like a lot of the problems you're experiencing are out there, and other people are responsible for wrecking your life or falling in love. And really, it's the parts of yourself that you are putting out into the world and seeing as somebody else when it's really you. So you've disassociated with everything that you are. So, shadow work is the craft and the science and the art of identifying what those things are in your life, how that's showing up. And then once you're at least aware of it, then you can start to deconstruct those projections and then identify those shadow parts of yourself that are there, but you haven't been able to admit until now. Then, once you can admit it, then you can expand your concept of yourself to include those things. And now, when people try to pressure you you can recognize that that desire is there. It doesn't have to go away completely right away. You can still have that desire there, but you're at least aware of what that pressure is, and you learn to interpret it as I'm feeling my own desire to do this thing through this other person. So there is a part of me that wants to do this for some reason, but I'm choosing not to follow through because I have better reasons not to. So, reintegrating and becoming a whole person includes the light and dark parts of yourself. And that's what shadow work is all about. There are lots of approaches and techniques and questions and digging in that I want to get into in future videos. But I wanted to talk about this because I see it all the time. It is so pervasive, and so many people are going through this, and I can see it plain as day, but not a lot of people are talking about it this way. So if this makes sense to you or it blew your mind, let me know. I genuinely want to hear from you and what you have to say about your own experience and how this has played out. If you're still here, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sticking it through. I would suggest that you subscribe to the channel, but if you aren't ready for that kind of commitment, then like the video, let me know that you enjoyed it. And also, check out this next video that'll help you make more sense out of your own mind. I'm Jonathan Pritchard from iCanReadMinds.com, and that's why I believe if you can change your mind, you can change your life.